Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gold Domers Report. I'm Landen Trailer, joined by John Richards in the car and Logan Trailer in a new spot this week. Looks like we got a little turnaround there. You can see the front door this week. But today, on today's show, we are going to be recapping Notre Dame's dominant win over Stanford last Saturday, as well as recapping Week 13 in college football. Quite the week. A lot happened. Let's get right into it.
By Samardzija, inside the 20, inside the 10, he's going in! Notre Dame has scored!
Go! You will be that driving force to motivate those coaches and those players to beat Southern Cal.
Notre Dame is relevant again.
The 20, the 10, 5-5 rocket touchdown.
Notre Dame is number one.
It's a game of who's going to flinch first. We know that it won't be Notre Dame.
All right, so Notre Dame buries Stanford and Palo Alto 56-23 behind a career performance from Audric Estime to close out 2023 9-3. It was a very sloppy start, letting the Cardinal drive up, put 3 up on the board, and then on the very next drive, we fumbled the ball. And so Stanford was able just to go 3 and out on that drive. Then we woke up in the next drive, run it in for a touchdown, 7-3. Irish hold them to 3 on the next drive, which I thought our defense did a phenomenal job of all night long, holding them when they needed to. So Stanford fakes the pitch and then scores after we fumble the kickoff. And so Stanford goes up 13-7 at the end of the first quarter. And then Hartman finds Greathouse for 6, and it's 14-13 Irish. And then on the very next offensive drive, Sam Hartman throws an interception that Stanford is able to score a field goal off of it. My apologies. And it is 16-14 in favor of Stanford. After the Cardinal had a 2-point lead, the Irish woke up and never looked back, scoring 6 straight unanswered touchdowns and ultimately winning 56-23. We're up 56-16 before a garbage time touchdown from Stanford. So that is that. Sam Hartman was 8 for 14, 140 yards, 1 interception, and 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. Audric Estime had 25 carries, 238 yards, and 4 touchdowns for Audric. 4 turnovers in the game for Notre Dame, and yet another sloppy start on the road, which seems to be a reoccurring thing in the Marcus Freeman era that we've seen. So, Logan, I'll start with you. Thoughts on the Stanford win, as well as what I kind of just hinted at in the sloppy starts that we've seen on the road this season.
Yeah, last game of the year, obviously can't take wins for granted in college football, and we were able to finally get a road win. Like you said, started off slow, ended the game with 4 turnovers, one of those being on Stephen Jelly, his first play right out the gate. And then, the second and third quarter, we dominated. I think it was 42-3 in those 2 quarters. And then we tied with them the fourth quarter. They got that late touchdown.
Garbage time.
It was good to see us finally in that second quarter kind of open it up. You saw guys that we wanted to get involved early on in the season, finally get involved. Which was good to see. I think, there's a lot of upside and a lot of potential when it comes to these wide receivers, especially. I thought our line, there was no way they could match up with us physically on both ends of our offensive line and defensive line was really good. So it was good. There was a lot of good things and also a lot of bad. I think, Sam's interception was very infuriating for me. You're a 6-year guy or a 5-year guy, and you throw it off your back foot. Just like stuff like that. It just was not very pleased that first half of play, to be honest with you. And you hinted at it being on the road and not being locked in. And Freeman addressed it in his press conference. He knows, and it's a problem. And I would say that it's a problem that needs resolved because your first game next year, forget the bowl game, your first game next year is in College Station. So you got to address that. You got to address that. And we know that this team, is really good at home, but when they go on the road, it's a different story. And you got to figure out why. And like I said a couple of weeks ago, this season's more frustrating, not due to the fact that we're finished 9-3, and those 3 losses should have been, different outcomes, in my opinion. There's a lot more questions than there are answers right now, and that's what I'm so frustrated with. When we're looking back at the end of the year, this year was supposed to be a time where maybe we get into the CFP, we have the talent to do it, but the questions that we had a year ago were supposed to be answered. I think we still have some of those underlying issues and questions that need answered. So yeah. So those are my thoughts.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree with about everything you said there, especially with the part on the road next year at Texas A&M. That's going to be a rocking atmosphere for the first game of Mike Elko's career or head coaching debut there. At Purdue, I know I'm hard on Purdue, but that it's going to be a night game, and that's going to be a loud atmosphere for the Irish next year. And then at Georgia Tech, could be a big atmosphere depending on how Georgia Tech decides to be. And then, of course, at USC, we've struggled in the Coliseum in past. So, JR, thoughts on a dominating performance at Stanford as well as the road blunders, if you will. We'll talk a lot more about these on Thursday, but just go ahead and give us a little preview of that.
GDR on the road next year, West Lafayette. Is that the deal?
Yeah, we got to do a pregame tailgate.
I'm not gonna. I mean, really, that was very eloquently put. I don't think it was dominating. It was rather uninspiring. It was nice to see them finally realize that, lean on your bell cow, let Estime play, and let him play consistently. I don't know where that was at all year long. I understand he probably can't carry the ball 2,000 times a game, but that's okay. They figured it out. They got a nice win last game of the season. But we're 9-3. I feel like kind of how I felt Saturday night watching that game. We're 9-3. We are who we are. We're going to go on onto a bowl game, to the Nunya Bowl. And like Logan said, a lot more questions than there are answers. So we'll see. But, you got to turn it around quick.
Yeah, I mean,
calendar will flip before you know it. A&M will be here, and so will Mike Elko.
Absolutely. And we saw how we struggled with a Mike Elko coach defense this year at Duke, 21-14. So we'll obviously touch a lot more on that on Thursday when Dylan's back on the show in our season recap. So overall, it was just, we expected them to do what they did. They blew out Stanford in the second half. Obviously disregard the first half. That was okay. Stanford is who they are. They're 3-9. They're in shambles right now. 9-3. I have a flag that's hanging in my garage. Logan could probably see it there if he went out there. It says 9-3 is not good enough. And they handed that out after the 2005 season when they went 9-3. So beginning of the 2006 season. It's a little rally towel. I think we should hand those out again because 9-3 is just not good enough. Logan is exactly right. This was supposed to be the year that we were going to be could be in the college football playoff. And with the talent on the roster, I thought, Logan even thought maybe we could win one game. We could win a game in the college football playoff. I'm not saying this is a national championship caliber team, but I'm saying this could have been a team to win a game in the college football playoff, Logan.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was looking at last year, you needed, on the schedule we played this year, you needed to beat Ohio State. It felt like we had the team to finally do it. Freeman's first year at Ohio State, we were hoping that they would win in Columbus, but you knew it was not very likely with that, the roster, which wasn't terrible by any means, but obviously the roster from his second year to the first year is a lot better. Kids have developed. Audric has got a bigger role. Audric's one of the best running backs in the country. You go and get a top 10 quarterback at the time in the transfer portal. Your defense is experienced. And your offensive line solve some issues. But there's still some issues there, in my opinion. But, you see, some of those guys already. You've seen it. Chris Tyree transferring out, see Carell transferring out, Nana transferring out. And that's a good sign to me when your guys when those guys, not Nana, who lost his position to Baptiste when Baptiste transferred over, but the other two, Tyree and Carell, it's good to see because I think that Freeman's trying to move in the right direction. And it's good to see that, there's competition for starting spots next year. And just because you're a senior doesn't mean you're guaranteed a starting spot. That's a sign of you're going in the right direction as a program. However, this year is still, you got to produce on the field. It doesn't matter what your roster looks like. And you just fell short. And I don't think it was because of talent. I don't think Louisville is more talented than us. I don't think, Clemson is more talented than us. And Ohio State probably on paper is more talented with the wide receivers that they have. And I love Stoyer, by the way. I think, JR, you talked about that way early on, how he was kind of overlooked. Very high on Stoyer. But, I think Ohio State had the same issues that Notre Dame had this year. Ohio State was able to pull out 2 games that Notre Dame couldn't. And, like I texted, Michigan made a play that Notre Dame couldn't. And I think just because of the 9-3 year, it wasn't a roster issue. It was more of a coaching issue and being able to put your kids in a position to succeed and being able to have your kids ready to go.
Mm-hmm. I agree, Logan. That well said. JR from the road. Any counterpoints or anything there?
No, you guys got me?
Yep.
Yeah.
There. No, just 11-1 should have kept us in the conversation, and now we're not even part of the conversation on a really important and fun weekend. That's unfortunate in the last year of this landscape of college football. That's really disappointing to me, and I've said it all along. I don't think it's an issue of talent. Vegas tells you that we probably hit our number. 8.5 was the over under. We got the 9. So, but to me, underwhelming. I'm not happy with where we're at.
Yeah. And we'll get to
I agree with everything you guys both said.
Yeah, and we'll get to that on Thursday. Back to Stanford. The play of the game for me was the blocked field goal, return for a touchdown by Javonte John Baptiste. That was a phenomenal block. He scooped it up, tiptoed down the sideline, and ran into the end zone for a touchdown. I think that was our 55th and 56th point there. The player of the game, obviously, Audric Estime. He now has over 2,000 yards, and he has the most touchdowns by a running back in Notre Dame football history, which Notre Dame football, their running backs that they have produced have been elite. And to be up there with among the greats in that category for Audric Estime is pretty phenomenal, a pretty big milestone for Audric Estime. And he does have another year of eligibility, another thing we'll talk about here moving forward on Thursday. But Logan mentioned it earlier as well. Zeke Carell and Chris Tyree have entered the transfer portal, and that comes after Marcus Freeman in his Monday press conference says that he hopes to keep the staff the same. And so you got to wonder if those two guys are just the beginning of players transferring out, offensive players transferring out, because Freeman won't make the decision, Logan.
I don't think it's because of that. I think both of those guys saw the writing on the wall. Didn't do my research. I don't know when Carell got hurt, the message boards and Twitter, when Carell announced it last night, the kid that was behind him that got the reps, I think it was at the Clemson game, did really well. And so I think Zeke saw that. I think it was communicated that, hey, we're going to go this route. We liked what we saw from him, and we're going to move forward with him. And I think, with Tyree, that's the one where it's questionable of where, like, Chris is going to go somewhere and succeed. I have no doubt about that.
Right.
What I want him to be back? Yes, but to me, I think it's like, okay, now we're in the right direction. The wide receivers, I think Chris saw it as well. That I'm on a couple message boards. They say Tobias Merriweather has been the best Notre Dame wide receiver for the last 4 weeks. The last month has had a really good month of practice. Has been running better routes. It's really clicking with him. They say the same thing about Jaden Greathouse. So, obviously you got to get that to translate right on the field, and that's important. But to hear that, it would make more sense to me if I'm Chris. I want to be on the field. I want to enjoy my last year of eligibility and, get another degree, but get reps and maybe go somewhere. It's not like he's going to go to Ball State. No offense, Landen. He's going to go somewhere and, compete for a conference championship, in my opinion. So, I like I said, I don't mind it. I'm not freaking out. Last year around this, or 2 years around this time, we were kind of freaking out of what was happening. And obviously we're coachless as well. Went through the same thing that Duke's going through right now. And obviously that wasn't fun for any fan base or any team. So, I like the spot that we're in, to be honest.
Right. We always talk about spots on the show. And of course, we are in a unique spot right now. But back to Stanford overall, we did what we expected, and now we wait. The only disadvantage of not playing in a conference is, having to sit out this week, while everybody else plays to continue their season into the college football playoff or a conference championship. We sit, and now we wait, and unfortunately, everything from here on out is out of our control. And that's about the only disadvantage of not playing in a conference. A team who didn't do what we expected, except for JR, Ohio State. Let's move into week 13 here. They played a pretty awful game offensively. I was not impressed. I thought they would be a little bit better than that. And unfortunately, they weren't, and I am a man of my word. And I said that if Michigan were to win on Saturday, that I would come on my show here and sing the victors. So, unfortunately, I am a man of my word. And so, let's get it started.
Thursday.
Huh?
I can't wait for Thursday.
No, I cannot wait till Thursday. So let's get this going. I got to find the right time here and
turn off my
hail
camera.
To the victors valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail to Michigan champions and the best. Hail to the victors valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail to Michigan champions of the West. There you go. I'm a man of my word. That'll be on all of my social medias now as well.
That's pretty good.
That'll be on all of my social medias as well now. So thanks a lot, Zero State. You suck. You blow. You stink. You're soft. Lou Holtz was right about you. You blow. You stink. You're a letdown. You're frauds. You're the definition of frauds. You've been frauds all year long. Thanks a lot, Zero State. Lou Holtz was right, Ryan Day. Lou Holtz was right. Now, however, I think Michigan, hats off to them. I think Michigan is number one in the country. I think Michigan obviously will win the Big Ten this Saturday. I think they will make it to the college football playoff national championship. And I think that Michigan will be crowned 2024 national champions this season in the college football playoff. Now, it will be vacated, of course, because they're going to get the death penalty because that cheating son of a crack down there and up there in Ann Arbor. Yeah. So, JR, you're from Ohio. You live in Ohio, born and raised in Ohio. Now you got to deal with those angry fans. You called it on when we did the show last week. You called this just talk to us here about Ohio, Zero State and Michigan.
Yeah, I just had a feeling that the same old Ryan Day would show up against Michigan on the road, and apparently that's exactly what took place. He tightened up, especially in the first half. He threw that McCord threw that pass, and it was all downhill from there. I thought they loosened up a little bit in the second half, but they should have came out guns a-blazing. They didn't really have anything to lose. They were an underdog, and now all the questions are swirling around Ryan Day. A lot of my friends, a lot of the Ohio State folks, they want him fired. And I can't say that I'm necessarily in disagreement. I think he's 1-6 in the games that actually matter. That's kind of Brian Kelly-ish. So they're fired up around here. Some people are trying to talk their way into a backdoor, don't really want that. I think that's a bad idea, and they'll just get more exposed. So hats off to Michigan. They won. Ohio State's going to be sitting at home watching, and that's how I prefer it, because I don't want to sit there and listen to Ohio State fan all winter long. How great they are.
There is still a path to the playoff for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Keep that in mind.
Bama beats Georgia. What is it? Bama beats Georgia. Louisville
beats Georgia. Washington beats Oregon. Texas loses the Big 12 championship. That is all they need to win or to get back into the college football playoff race and into the college football playoff.
Well, Florida State will be in, correct?
I forgot about Florida State. If they lose, no. If they win, yes.
I can see the committee putting Georgia in as well. I wouldn't be shocked if they put the 2 SEC teams in.
Very, very reasonable.
Yeah.
So
Ohio State's. I don't think Ohio State's going to get in. If you're not going to play this year, if you're not even playing in your conference championship game, it's going to be tough to navigate that. I agree. If Georgia loses, they're probably going to get put back in.
Yeah, because they're I don't know. I would be interesting to see very interested to see how the committee really makes their decision. That would be a tough one for me, I guess. But that's a good point. Not playing for your conference championship is definitely on the radar.
Resume, though. I don't know. I like
your best win. You beat 9-3 Notre Dame.
That's not even their best win. That Penn State is now. Thanks a lot, Jared Parker. Anyway, back to reality here. So Ohio State, JR, you said that Ryan Day should be fired. I just don't agree with that statement.
No, I don't necessarily know if he should be fired. I'm in agreement, though, that I don't think he's the right guy. If it happens again next year, okay, let's say they get in. Let's say they somehow backdoor their way in and they lose again. Or he gets another year and he loses to Michigan again. But they're, 11-1, 10-2. Are you going to keep doing that every year?
Well, here's my.
I mean, how valuable is it? How valuable is it to go, undefeated against the Minnesotas and the Michigan States and the drubs of the Big Ten like that every year? And now you've got USC coming in. You got other schools. So I
get it.
I don't know.
I get it. I
don't know.
I get it. I get where you're coming from. Now, here's my point. He lost in the college.
Can't lose to Michigan around here 3 years in a row, Lando.
I understand that, but you get to the college football playoff, you lose on a missed field goal. You take the number 2 team in the country, the eventual national champions. You had them on the ropes. You miss a field goal that should have been made. Guy was thinking about New Year's Eve.
But he also butchered that last drive.
Yeah,
he sat back, and he put his kid in a 50-yard field goal position that was not. I don't know, man. He still lost. He's 1-6, and
you're talking about the field goal at the end of the half.
No, the Georgia.
No, at the end of the game.
Georgia. Yeah, and then the missed field goal at the end of the Georgia game, and then He made it to the college football playoff in 2020, beat the brakes off of Clemson, and then loses to one of the best Alabama teams they've ever assembled with that roster. He loses to Clemson in the 2019 college football playoff in a very controversial call that swung the game on that fumble call that was ruled a catch or no catch. So I don't know. I think he's been pretty successful for the university or the Ohio State University. So I don't know. It's an interesting question, but it's a pattern with him. The last few years, it's a pattern. His teams just don't have the it factor, and his play calling has been very, very questionable. Rightfully so.
They were very flat in that game. They were very timid. They didn't play loose. And there are a lot of Ohio State fans who will disagree with you about him being successful. I'd argue he has not been successful at all. And do not forget, he is not an Ohio guy. Mm-hmm. Look at coaches who are not Ohio people. They do not have a good record. Ohio guys in that game, they have outstanding records. Now, who are you going to fire and bring in? Like, is Urban going to come back? I don't think so. What's that?
Is Urban an Ohio guy?
Urban was born in Ashtabula, Ohio. Yes, 1 hour north of me. Yep.
So before we move on, you said Ohio State fans, they're pretty upset. Obviously, that's why I think they're one of the most spoiled fan bases in the country. I would kill to be 11-1 right now, and they're whining and crying and moaning.
It's not about 11-1. I don't think you do understand it. There are Ohio State fans that would lose every game, but if they beat Michigan, they're happy.
It's an annoying fan base, and I can't. It's very annoying.
I don't disagree with you there.
They're very spoiled, and they're very annoying. Both fan bases really got to me this weekend. Just very annoying, very spoiled. All right, moving along. We got a few more games to cover. Alabama in the Iron Bowl. They looked awful. They almost blew it. They should have lost the game. They should have.
That game was
Right. It was an instant classic in the Iron Bowl. However, Alabama should have lost that game. They should never have won. Why did Auburn spy on 4th and a mile? It was 4th and a mile, and they put a QB spy. Dude, get your butts to the end zone.
That's what we did.
Well, okay, stop. Get your butts to the end zone, man. Oh, my goodness. But, hey, hats off to Alabama. Hats off to Auburn. They played in an instant classic. I would have loved to see Alabama go down, but not looking good for Alabama. They're kind of going backwards to the way they were playing in the beginning of the season against South Florida and Texas and those teams.
I put 20 on Bama to win the national championship at 9-1 after that.
Ooh.
I like it. And now
9-1.
It's going to lead me into a point that I've really been sitting on. I don't want to wait till Thursday. Tommy in will be his 3rd year calling plays, or his 2nd? Was it 3?
3rd. Is it 4?
4. He called him the last year.
4. He did a year under Kelly, a year under Freeman, and this year.
Yeah. So having those years under the belt, being able to go to Bama and do what he's done, which their offense, isn't the best in the country, but it's definitely improved from the first couple of weeks. It really starts, you guys are going to jump on me. I'm scared.
I know what you're going to say.
I know where you're going with this.
To give a guy experience in his first year at OC and then go coach one of probably the most dominant football program we have seen ever under the best coach in college football history and find success and get those years and experience under his belt. Why do we get rid of Parker? Because now I am just thinking about that. if you look at it, Parker's offense is a lot better statistically than Tommy's ever was at Notre Dame. In his first year, why are we jumping on we got to get rid of him after 1 year? After 1 year, and we all know the situation of how it happened too. Why?
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere different with that.
I thought you were talking about Tommy Rees getting a head coaching job.
Oh no.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the head coach at Notre Dame.
I'll go first. I'll go first here. I'll go first. You look at Tommy Rees. You look at what he had. He had Jack Cohn, Tyler Buckner, and Drew Pine. Jared Parker had the best running back in college football and one of the best quarterbacks in college football. And went.
I would disagree with the best quarterback, but okay.
I said one of the best. I said one of. I didn't say the best. Statistically, he is, Logan.
Sure, stats don't lie.
9-3. Tommy Rees went 11-1 with Jack Cohn as starting quarterback, and his offense was.
And lost to Cincinnati at home. But okay.
That was Brian. That was more Brian. You gonna let me talk? Are you gonna let me talk?
Yes.
Well, are you gonna let me finish my sentence? All right. Just let me talk. Okay. Thank you. You lost to Cincinnati at home. That's on Brian Kelly. Sorry, not sorry. His offense did what they could with the quarterbacks they had. They played 2 quarterbacks, for God's sake, that game. They played 2 quarterbacks that game. Our defense put us in a lot of bad positions. Our offense turned the ball over 3 times in the red zone that game. Lost 24-13, I think, was the final score.
We're 13 points at home.
Okay, moving along. 2022, you did not have a good roster assembled for Tommy Rees to be successful with the offense at Notre Dame. He leaves and goes to Alabama and thrives with a lot better talent. Jared Parker had a lot of talent this year and was awful. He is the reason that we are sitting here 9-3 this year. I do not want.
So why is it when Notre Dame lost to Cincinnati, it's Brian Kelly's fault, but when we lose, it's Jared Parker's fault?
Because that year of Brian Kelly was all the same. It was all the same for Brian Kelly in a big game.
So it's not the same for Marcus, because we talk about on this very show, the expectation is to win.
Exactly.
It's on the head coach. So now why is it on our offense?
No, it is on the head coach. It is on the head coach 110%. However, with our offensive play calling this, listen, I do not like Marcus Freeman as the head coach of Notre Dame. I don't. I'm sorry.
And you got to think, Tommy had the best tight end in the country for 2 years.
Okay, he didn't have a quarterback. He didn't have a quarterback.
I would say Jack Cohn was better than Sam Hartman.
Rightfully so.
100%.
Yes. And he went 11-1. And
lost to Cincinnati with a weak schedule.
That Cincinnati team was all right. You're underestimating Cincinnati. You're underestimating
Cincinnati. That Duke team that we played this year would beat that Cincinnati team.
Absolutely not.
Did they make the playoff that year?
Yes, they played Alabama.
And I'll say this. We were at least in the conversation that to the end of that weekend.
We were number 5.
We were hoping that
we were 5.
Was it? Or that Oregon State. We were hoping that somebody would lose so we could backdoor our way in, and then Brian Kelly's leaving and going to LSU.
We were 5th.
Well, I told so much for not having anything the quick show today. I told you we'd stumble into something.
Yeah, I have to do it because it's just there's a double standard that has been, just blown out of proportion about how you can't blame 3 losses on Jared Parker. You can't.
No, Ohio State's on Freeman.
Yeah. And I would say it's on Golden too.
Right.
So, and then Louisville, one of your top 10 quarterbacks in the country throws 5 picks against Louisville on the road.
How many times did we hand the ball to Estime that game? How many
So
times?
wait, so what?
I'm not
Hold on.
saying he's perfect.
Well, look at
Landon,
your 3 losses and look at how many times Estime touched the ball in those 3 losses. So what are we getting at here with Tommy Rees? Are we Tommy Rees? Is Tommy Rees? Should he be the next coach at IU? Should he be? Because he's not going to come back to Notre Dame to make a lateral move. He'd come back to Notre Dame to be the head coach, but I don't think anybody's suggesting that.
no, I wouldn't leave Bama. I think he's got to be there for a while to really be like, look what I did. No,
You don't think
it depends.
you don't think he'll leave this year and go get a head coaching job somewhere?
I don't. Unless there's some big powerhouse that wants to take the gamble with him. Maybe not even a powerhouse, a Power 5
Maybe the
program.
Cream and Crimson.
Would you take?
If I'm an IU football fan, yeah. I mean,
I can tell you that's not going to happen.
yeah. So if I'm an IU fan, he would be on my list. That I'd be like, okay, that works, I guess. But obviously, you know something.
He's not on a real list. Let's put it that way.
All right, we gotta go. JR to IU at the end of the day. He's on the radar. JR.
I'm telling you, listen, Cliff Kingsbury, he can move right into the porch. He can work as many of the ladies that he wants. He'd live right across the street. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh God. Hey, I heard there's a pad next to the stadium for sale. Get Jed down there, run the kegs. Moving along here. Anyway, hats off.
This 21 schedule is so brutal. Moving along.
Let's go, Logan. Move along. Georgia survives at Georgia Tech. They played terrible, winning 31-23, overlooking Georgia Tech and moving on to Alabama there. Washington, they snuck out yet another close win against Washington State. But hey, they're 12-0. Drop my pen. Hats off to them. Hats off to Washington. They got a big one against Oregon. Florida State edges out Florida without a QB. They're 12-0 as well. A big one against Louisville. We'll get to all these upcoming games on Thursday with Dylan. And lastly, Louisville falls to Kentucky 38-31. You know, that wasn't really unexpected. However, I thought that was a game that Louisville should have won. So Louisville finishes their regular season 10-2 with 2 really bad losses to Pitt and Kentucky. So can we stop in the chat, please? So any final thoughts before we get out of here today? From either one of you, Logan, probably with a smart comment here.
We'll save it for Thursday.
Where'd he go?
We'll save it for Thursday.
We're saving it for Thursday. JR, any thoughts on week 13 of college football?
Yeah, it's kind of a sad weekend. A lot of those games aren't going to hold the same meaning. Think about it next year. That Ohio State-Michigan game, that will not hold the same significance because next year Ohio State can lose that game and still get in.
And then they could meet up.
That is also true. That is also a very fair and a very good point. Astute a point there, Coach. So a lot of those rivalries are going away, but it's a fun weekend. It's a great time of year. I love college football. This is the best. I just wish that we were still involved somehow. And I'm going to go on the record as saying I don't want to play LSU in another bowl. I don't want to come back with Brian Kelly. I don't want to do that dance again. So let's see what this weekend holds. A lot of good games. A lot of possibilities can still play out.
It's
God,
not,
country, Notre Dame.
it's not over. It's not over. It's not over. There's a lot of football to be played still. So that does it for us today. We are back on Thursday with hopefully a full crew. Dylan, get your butt back here. You've missed more shows than we've had shows this year, it feels like. So we're back on Thursday to recap the regular season, give a bowl prediction, and look at the conference championships.
By Samosa, inside the 20, inside the 10, he's going in! Notre Dame has scored!
You will be that driving force to motivate those coaches and those players to beat Southern Cal.
Notre Dame is relevant again.
The 20, the 10, 5-5 rocket touchdown.
Notre Dame is number one.
It's a game of who's going to flinch first. We know that isn't going to be Notre Dame.